With a weekend election call looming, Prime Minister Mark Carney is spending some of the final days before the campaign in our city, his hometown. And today has been a whirlwind, from a meeting with the Premier to a morning skate with the Oilers and a funding announcement for Jasper recovery. CTV's Jeremy Thompson reports.
Donning an Oilers jersey with a Carney name bar, the Prime Minister once again leaning on his roots as both an Edmontonian and former Harvard hockey player. He says there's a lot to learn from groups like the Oilers.
The top standards, play like a team. It's a huge, it's a lesson for all of us, right? Lesson for me, lesson for the country. It's great.
National teamwork is being put to the test in Alberta. Carney met with Premier Danielle Smith behind closed doors this morning, an encounter one political analyst says must have been tense.
She's made it crystal clear that she's a political opponent of Mark Carney's, that she opposes the re-election of the Liberal government, and that she'll do everything she can, fighting tooth and nail, against their efforts.
The Premier did not take questions from the media today, but in a release said, "We had a very frank discussion in which I made it clear that Albertans will no longer tolerate the way we've been treated by the federal Liberals over the past 10 years. The Post also includes a list of demands the next federal government must address or risk a national unity crisis.
Childish, juvenile, ineffective.
All 9 demands would support Alberta's oil and gas industry in various ways. NDP leader Naheed Nenshi says the Premier's approach won't get Alberta what it needs.
Some of the demands actually make a ton of sense, but you don't state them as demands, otherwise I will force a national unity crisis.
There is no question that Mr. Carney is set against the oil and gas industry and will do everything in his power to shut it down.
At an afternoon press conference to announce new federal money for Jasper recovery, the Prime Minister voiced his support for Alberta's main economic driver.
It's about getting things done. It's about getting, yes, pipelines built across this country so that we can displace imports of foreign oil. It's about building out the energy infrastructure more broadly here in Alberta, which I would add.
And Jeremy Thompson joins us live now. So Jeremy, sources tell CTV News Carney is expected to call an election on Sunday. Has he dropped any information about where he might be running?
Well, of course, there's been plenty of speculation about Carney potentially seeking a seat in Edmonton as his hometown. But as you say, all the major news outlets are reporting the writ will drop on the weekend. The Prime Minister won't even confirm that today. So he's being still very tight-lipped about any running intentions. Now, we have spoken to multiple political analysts about an Edmonton seat for Carney, and they say that's unlikely. They believe an Ottawa seat would be a safer bet for the Prime Minister, especially for someone so new to politics and someone who's just trying to get a spot in Parliament. Nicole?
Thank you, Jeremy. And as Jeremy mentioned, the Prime Minister has promised $187 million in new money for Jasper. Seniors, Community and Social Services Minister Jason Nixon says it's good the money will be used to rebuild roads, campgrounds, and some staff housing, but it is not the most pressing issue.
So from what I've seen so far, it is a symbolic announcement that is not going to deal with the immediate issue inside the national park, which is getting people back into their homes. So we call on Mr. Carney Prime Minister Carney to make sure that he actually focuses on that. I hope he hears from some people on the ground in Jasper on some of the concerns that they would have to be able to get their homes redeveloped, and that we see a concrete investment in that area.
Nixon says Ottawa also needs to spend money to improve forestry practices to reduce the fire risk. In January, the Alberta government backtracked on its $112 million commitment to Jasper's rebuild. The Parks Canada plans for rebuilding with high-density permanent housing conflicted with the province's vision of building single-family homes. As we reported yesterday, many Jasperites have already moved into interim housing. Mayor Richard Ireland has said the rebuild will begin in earnest this spring.